get the latest on that. But I want to talk now about the hundreds of XL bully dogs who are to be apparently destroyed at the end of the year when a ban comes into force. They're to be euthanised. They live in rescue centres run by the RSPCA, Blue Cross, Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, Dogs Trust and the Mayhew Animal Home. That's where Jack came from, my cat. It comes in 2 phases, so XL bullies cannot be lawfully rehomed or sold after the 31st of December. Of course, there's been a spate of attacks and deaths involving the breed, and many of these animals have been rescued previously. Let's talk to Rob Allain, who's an animal behaviour expert. Rob, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Is this the right policy, do you think? I mean, we've got places like Battersea, Blue Cross, Mayhew and so on. I mean, they have the mantra of adopting animals and trying to rehabilitate them. Do you think that XL bully dogs can be rehabilitated? Do you think they can be good family pets?
Well, in fairness, I think a lot of the ones that have gone into rescue have gone in because people are panicking about this new legislation and thinking, I need to get rid of him before the legislation comes in, and not necessarily because the dog has done anything wrong. But we saw when this legislation came in 1991, primarily to restrict pit bull terriers, because there was this belief that there was going to be this just swathe of murders and these dogs were just going to kill everybody. And what we found is that in 2023, they estimate there are more pit bull terriers now than there were in 1991. And we don't hear of any attacks. And so I think adding the XL bully to this is going to do the same thing. It doesn't work. It just restricts responsible people from being responsible with their dogs. The sort of people who are irresponsible, and if we look at all these attacks on people, almost without exception, the one common denominator is the owner isn't present.
Yeah.
The owner is being responsible with the dog, and as a result of that, the dog does something terrible. If you bring in this kind of legislation, what will happen is the responsible people will try their best to be responsible, or for fear of prosecution, they'll get rid of their dog. And the irresponsible ones will not comply, and they'll keep their dogs and continue to be irresponsible. So banning a breed just moves those irresponsible people to the next breed. And then the next dog comes along and we ban that. That's what's happening now. We banned the pit bull, and irresponsible people created a dog worse than pit bulls.
So what is the way to try to tackle this then? Is there any way to tackle this problem?
I think we already have a system, which is that in every other aspect of law, we punish the guilty. If somebody stabs you with a knife, you don't punish the knife, you punish the person who stabbed you. And I think the same should be true with this. If I have an XL bully and I behave irresponsibly with it, I should be punished. It's like we've had laws like this. I remember, and this is not necessarily connected, when I was 12, so growing up in the 60s and 70s, I got arrested walking down the street at 12 years old and kept in a police station all day for trying to steal a car. When I was 12, just walking down the street. But in those days, the police thought it was acceptable to pick on people just because of how they appeared. And here we are.
So you weren't trying to steal a car at all?
No, I was just walking down the street, coming back to my friend's house. And they said they arrested me in a car park trying to break into a car. And I think what a lot of the police saw in the 70s was I was probably going to grow up to be a criminal. So let's start punishing him now. And here we are in 2023 doing the same thing. Well, this dog looks like it might grow up to be a bad dog. Let's kill it. Then we don't have to worry about it. And those people will just go and get another dog and do the same thing. I hear people talking a lot about licensing. We have driver's licenses, and the responsible people drive responsibly. The irresponsible ones drive responsibly until they pass their test and then drive like an idiot. They've still got a license, but it doesn't regulate their behavior. And the truly irresponsible ones just don't get a license. That doesn't work. What we have to do is punish the guilty, which is the owner, not the dog, the owner.
Yeah. How do you feel towards the RSPCA, Blue Cross, Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, Dogs Trust and Mayhew Animal Homes? What do you think of their idea in this, and what do you think they should do? Because some would argue they're in actually a very tricky place when in this regard.
I absolutely would agree. You know, if I, as an irresponsible owner, take my potentially dangerous XL bully into a rescue centre, oh yeah, he's bitten a few people, but it was their fault, and I hand it into the RSPCA, what are the RSPCA supposed to do with it? They can't morally rehome it because it's dangerous. Even if they try and retrain it, they can only retrain it within the confines of a rescue. And so the dog's behaviour may be very different once they put it into a new home, once it gets its feet under the table and learns about the owners, because the owners are probably going to behave very differently with it to the way the rescue did. So I see their dilemma. I know they get a lot of criticism for saying, well, we'll put them down. If an XL bully comes in here, particularly one that's got a history, we're going to put it down. But what else are they supposed to do with it? They can't keep it in there forever. You wouldn't keep a rapist in a kennel for the next 12 years, much as I'd love people to, but we don't. So you can't just keep the dog indefinitely. It's hugely expensive and morally unfair, I think, to the dog. It's institutionalised. It's in a terrible environment. So I get why they're then put in a position to have to put them down. My problem with it, though, is when they take in a dog knowing that they're going to put it down, and actually there's nothing wrong with the dog.
Well, this is interesting.
Look, it's your responsibility. You keep it. Don't bring it to us just because you don't want it anymore. You keep it, or you put it to sleep.
It's an interesting point in that the RSPCA has apparently still told Sky News that vets face the prospect of being asked to put to sleep healthy dogs whose behaviour poses no risk.
Yeah, it's interesting because when the Dangerous Dogs Act came into effect in 1991, vets were perfectly happy to put, oh, not all vets, that's not fair, but a lot of vets were perfectly happy to put to sleep 12, 13-week-old puppies. I was a dog warden at that time. My job was to seize those dogs and take them to vets, and I'd never had a vet who objected to putting it down. But I think what's happened is they've realised now that actually this was the wrong thing to do, and just complying was not right. So now they're being asked to do it again, and thankfully lots of vets are saying, no, that's not what we signed up for. I didn't become a vet to kill innocent dogs. And loads of them are refusing, and I think that's great.
Well, we'll continue to follow this story because it is a very interesting one. And Rob, thank you so much for joining us today. Great insight there from Rob Elaine, their animal behaviour expert. Thank you to him. Mark is in Derby and has given us a call about immigration. Mark, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to say?
Oh, hi, Peter. First of all, thank you for bringing me back